Hi, everybody. I'm Erika Steinberg, and welcome to Around the Ladder, the podcast where we explore the unexpected paths of career journeys. Many of us are familiar with the phrase climbing the corporate ladder, but what about when your path doesn't follow a straight line? I love the idea of going around the ladder and carving out a different kind of path for yourself. My own journey certainly took this route. After 25 years as an employee, I realized that I'm an entrepreneur. I didn't even know. And I'm not alone in this. The Around the Ladder podcast is an opportunity for me to talk to others about their journeys. And today I am happy to welcome Morgan Katz. Morgan is the founder and CEO of Ticketnology, a cutting edge platform that really revolutionized how businesses manage and maximize live event tickets, turning them from a time burden on their staff into powerful business assets. Her career in live events and working with sports teams and venues gave Morgan firsthand insight into ticket management challenges. She saw a major gap in how organizations handled season tickets and hospitality, so she created a streamlined, data-driven solution. Thank goodness. As someone who used to work with tickets, I'm particularly grateful. So, under Morgan's leadership, Ticketnology has become a trusted partner for law firms, auto dealerships, and tech companies, offering seamless management, insightful reporting, and concierge level support. Morgan is not only an entrepreneur, she's also a member of EO Dallas, and she's a frequent speaker on client experience, event strategy, and business growth. And when she's not running Ticketnology, she's spending time with her family, investing in her faith, and working on her charity. She has her own charity called Gunny's House. So, welcome, Morgan. I'm so happy to be able to continue our conversation here. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to chat with you today.
Oh, thank you. So normally I would ask you to start with your story, your own career story. But first, as I told you, I really want to hear about Gunny's House. When we first spoke, I didn't realize you had your own charity. So tell me about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I've had two dogs as an adult, Gus and Penny, which formed Gunny. And some of them were rescues, and they were rescues who were kind of out of time in the system. And so Gunny's household mission is to extend the life for a dog, whether it be short term, as places to stay, taking those dogs that have medical issues that are not adoptable and letting them enjoy the rest of their quality of life at a nice place. So we have centers where they can live, and there's land and they can play, and it's not a cold shelter setup, but it's really being able to let those dogs thrive and still have a nice quality of life and enjoy and have some fun. It's only a couple years old. But we have seen there's a great need, and then we've had some really nice supporters that have helped us jump to our next levels of growth within the charity, and continue to help dogs every day.
Oh, I absolutely love that. That is such a wonderful mission. I've heard of Osher's House, which I think does something similar.
Similar.
Um, Same, yeah. And the idea also of adopting an older dog or fostering an older dog. I remember a friend of mine who I used to work with had a dog that she had had from when the dog was a puppy through the dog's whole life. And then that dog passed. And then she and her partner decided that they wanted another dog, but they went to a shelter and they adopted a 15-year-old dog who nobody wanted. He lived with them. They thought that maybe he would have months. He lived with them, I think, for over a year and was just so sweet. And I loved that she did that. I thought it was so generous of her because they still went through the pain of when they lost him, but the difference that they made in making the last year or so of his life so much different and I hope better than it would have been in, like, as you said, a cold shelter.
Absolutely. Quality of life there, probably extension of life to your point earlier of what they thought a few months and ended up being a year. That's just an incredible thing. And to know going in that there's going to be pain associated at the end when that dog does pass, but to give that and provide that, what a gift.
Yeah, yeah, I thought it was really lovely. So, okay, I am so happy that you shared that with me and that I know about it now. And now I'd also like to hear about your story because when you and I first met, first of all, so just so everybody knows, when Morgan and I first met, I was like, "Where were you when I was in house? Where was this? Where was this tool when I was in house? It is so needed." Because it was, just, dealing with the tickets was, we were all like, oh, nobody wanted to do it. But tell me about your backgrounds and how it led you to jumping off and I'm also interested in how you discovered that you're an entrepreneur and you made this leap from the corporate life to owning your own business.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've always worked in live events. The running joke is I've always had a job with a walkie-talkie. And so whether it was performance halls, baseball, concert venues, conferences and events, I've done a little bit of everything and I just love it. I love being on the floor or on the venue side and just working through the problems and seeing people have these emotional experiences and connections. It was amazing. So I really felt like that's where I wanted to be and live. And the course of my career, I've probably done over 4,500 concerts or games or events in some capacity. And so it's pretty awesome to do all of that. I thought at my last role that I'd be there forever, that I was a lifer. And when I was there at the beginning, it was very entrepreneur friendly. And I didn't realize that at the beginning, but looking back, I know that now.
Mhm.
I saw my boss 3 or 4 times a year. Otherwise, it was get it done, go out and do it. And you saw the people you worked with, but like it was just, okay, that works. If that's the path you want to go, then go. And as long as you were producing, it worked. And it was amazing. And then we had some leadership changes and it changed the program and
Mhm.
not transition into what it needed to be. And so it just wasn't, it no longer was a fit. I'd always been kind of that out of the box thinker, but I never just titled it as an entrepreneur, right? I was
Mhm.
just creative or had ideas or big and bold. But then once that happened and it was time to figure out what my next move was, that's when I really started to understand and invest in my side of being an entrepreneur.
Oh my goodness, I love that. I mean, for me, I didn't, I tr not only did I not realize that I was an entrepreneur, and maybe I wasn't also, in all fairness, is something that developed, but I realized it in my mid 50s. It wasn't even when I first started my business. It was several years in when I realized how much the ideas were flowing and the big picture ideas that I had. That I was like, one day, literally, I think I was already 55. And I was like, oh my God, I'm an entrepreneur. I never even knew it.
Well, it's amazing sometimes when you just don't have the right titles for it, right? Or the right understanding, or it's okay that you think these big things. That's what creates these other opportunities.
Yeah.
And being able to release and allow permission in that space is really something special.
Yeah. And I think it's also because in my corporate life, I've always worked at law firms and now I work with law firms. In that life, my superpower at that point was that I was very focused on details. I knew, somebody else could have the big picture and I could see how it would line up and how to bring it to life. And so that was the strength that I focused on was my detail orientation rather than the bigger picture idea kind of thing.
Interesting. I'm the exact opposite. I would like to keep it 30,000 feet only. And what tells my team is like, please stop breaking things. Like, please just back away from this. And so but that's my super. I can cut through the fluff and see that end goal or see whatever else is there and cut through it just a different way. And so it's amazing when you put those powers together, though, of either that strategy with someone really great on detail and what that magic can create.
Yeah, yeah. So tell me about how did you end up putting, launching Ticketnology? How much lead time did it take? This is a tech platform. So it's not like I launched a consulting firm. I just needed my logo and I put together my website. But your prep and your ramp up was, would have of course been very different. What was that like?
Yeah, so we have a interesting journey. So when I started this in 2019, we were not a tech company. I was a consultant and I would help companies personally, like, sure, I'll read through your contracts. Let's look at what you're doing, write some policies and procedures. I'll help you buy and sell some tickets. So I was a corporate ticket broker mixed in with like a strategist on the ticketing and live events of how to utilize track sponsorships, things like that. Well, then COVID happened in 2020 and events were gone, right? So we had this really big intermission. And at that time, my daughter, my oldest child, was born in February of 2020. And so at first I was like, oh, I'll just get some extra time with her. This will be great. But then it was like, what am I going to do to be relevant coming out of this? And what I was hearing was for those that did have events in the fall of 2020, digital ticketing was really complicated for companies. Because a lot of companies, even though teams were pushing people prior to use digital tickets, companies were still keeping physical ones and getting, and that was now out the window. And so decided we're going to take what we were doing, enhance it, and build it into software. So late 2020 started building our first platform, and then launched in April of 21 as a software company, as a ticket management company.
Mm-hmm.
Been on that path ever since. So we've already, COVID definitely made us have a second iteration of the vision of the company, but really thankful for that, and giving us also, it was a pause in business that we could spend on making that software and spending that time versus trying to, build the car while running it. So there's a lot of wins for us in that time period.
Yeah. So that sounds like it was a year very well spent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very interesting to learn about. I'm not a technical founder, and so lots of lessons in software.
Yeah, I bet. So, and how are your skills in that now? Did you have a crash course? Do you really, did it all really land with you?
Nope. I still cannot code. I'm not a coder.
I love that honesty. Nope.
But what I can tell you is where this button should be to make the ease of the client, where how this should fall, why we need to change colors, what the layout and the working process should be, so that we have a solid client experience.
Yes.
That's what I'm able to bring in, and then my development team, which is amazing, is able to take that and turn it into ones and numbers to produce it on the page. So, and we have a really good system of how we work. And why we develop product, what are the guidelines to change product, add product features, things like that. Always customer first, but with that combination of me coming in, speaking for the customer voice, and then coming in saying, technically we can do this, this, and this, we're able to make some good changes and good updates for them.
Are there ever times when you go to your tech team and say, okay, this is my vision, and they're just like, oh my goodness, Morgan, you're killing us?
Yeah, normally it's we'll let us do some research and we'll get back to you. It's kind of the line I get back.
That's the code.
I trigger that I either haven't explained something very well, or I've jumped 5 steps and I need to figure out where we've lost each other.
Yeah. So my husband says that I do that a lot. I start a conversation in my head and I'm 5 steps ahead, and then I start to speak out loud, and he's just like, what?
So when you're like, so if I start talking and they're like this, I'm like, okay, I'm in place 3. Let me back up, right?
Yeah.
Like very much happens.
I love this. I mean, I love this path that you were on, and that you were, you've always had this entrepreneurial spirit. And at that company that you described, where, it was, I mean, they talk about a lot of trust in the team, that you would see your boss, 3 or 4 times a year. And as long as it sounds like such a great place where they would say, okay, this is the outcome that we want, go do. And you had the freedom and the support, and just knowing that you had that trust. It sounds like it was a really fantastic training ground.
It really was. Again, I didn't know what title to put on it, right? That it would help me evolve as an entrepreneur, but it really set some good foundation for me to be able to understand how to push through and finish a project, how to work on deadlines, how to make sure the goal is met, and backtrack for those steps throughout the process.
Yeah, yeah. So along this path, as you've grown in your career and you've gone from being an employee to being the business owner, what strengths have you discovered of your own that you didn't maybe know about before?
Yeah, so I think there's a couple things. Understanding that I see things at a 30,000 level is really important, because I need to break things down and make sure that I am being clear. And someone once said, being clear is being kind. And I think there's a lot of clarity in that, of like, yes, if I haven't fully explained the mission or the vision or what we're trying to do, we're not going to get anywhere. And so I've got to make sure that that is part of it. I also think I can understand having a goal and work and backtracking it pretty well from that experience, right? When I knew that I needed to sell X amount of dollars in a year, then I've got a timeline to work back and figure out how to watch my own numbers and things of that nature. So very good at kind of that self-control or self-regulating where we are in sales, where we need to spend more time and things of that nature, and from doing that over the years prior.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a very big leap. And speaking as a fellow entrepreneur, it's not always easy. There are times where I'm like, oh my goodness, why am I doing this? Um, have you had moments also when you were in doubt?
Of
Yeah.
course. Even just going into the software world, right? Changing what we were doing. COVID brought a lot of questions and of like, did I want to even stay in this industry or did I want to do something totally different? So yeah, I mean, those are always there. And I think when I bring on a new team member, I'm like, is this the right time? Is there enough, let's check the books again. Let's make sure our clients are set up. Like, is this the right person in the right seat? Like, there's a lot of questions. But I have found some really good groups or associations where I can get lots of knowledge, lots of experience shares from other entrepreneurs that have been really impactful over the years of
Mhm.
like, listen, we're always going to have ups and downs. We're always going to have challenges. We're always going to question certain things. But what do you go to as kind of like the backbone of looking at it? Or, okay, if I have this, then I know I'm set. And so putting some of those key metrics in place have been really helpful from those learning experiences over the years.
Yeah. And you also mentioned that you spend time investing in your faith. I mean, where does your faith come in carrying you through? Because I would imagine, speaking from my own experience, it's incredibly helpful to have that.
Yes, it very much so is. And it's a big part. It's how, when I have those moments, having opportunities, I'm grateful for the challenge, I'm grateful for the opportunity, and looking at it that way, it's just a different mindset to be
Yeah.
able to say, okay, we get to do hard things. I get to do hard things. That's a blessing. That's an amazing opportunity. And so being able to own it that way has been just a mindset shift. And then having my faith support that is just huge for my day to day. And it's, sometimes it's like, okay, I understand I get to do hard things, but maybe we can take it down a notch.
Can I have a break from the hard things for a little while? I know.
But having that faith there, that relationship there is really important for me just in my day to day. And it also is how I think sometimes the positive can shine through even when it's a gloomy situation or it's not the best,
Yes.
thinking about.
Yes, absolutely. I think that because of my previous identification for myself as being the details person. If something fell through the cracks or there was a mistake, I felt like, oh my goodness, I have failed in my mission as a human being. I mean, it was very hard for me to deal with. And now I have been able, probably 8 or 9 times out of 10, I'm able to turn those things around and say, okay, this is an opportunity. I've had clients say to me, oh, you know what? It's hard. This is hard for me to say. I'm not really happy with how something is going. And the first thing I say now is, okay, don't feel like you have to sugarcoat it. Just tell me what's going on. And I look at it as an opportunity to course correct. So I always thank them for that feedback now and say, thank you so much for sharing that with me because I didn't know. And so now let's think of a way forward.
Yeah.
So it's really turning what could be a negative into a positive, and the experience for everybody is better moving forward. And I would imagine, especially with an evolving tech platform that you have, those kinds of experiences, like you need that feedback from your clients. So you can't take it as, oh my goodness, I failed.
Nope, you're so right. We want to hear that from our clients all the time. And we also want to validate their experience. We want to say, tell me more. Why did this happen? And then is it something on our side? Is it something we've never thought about? Is there something we can help in their process? Like, what does that look like? And it's always a different answer. But we're very big on customer feedback. We have open lines of communications. And we really try very hard to make sure that it's not stale or not cold in our outreach of communication with our clients, right? Like, hey, we noticed this. What do you want to have a conversation about it? Or anytime I'm available to talk, their account managers, like, we're always open to it. We just had a client event in Phoenix a couple of weeks ago, and one of our clients brought something to our attention, and I was like, what do you mean? And he was like, walked me through it, and I was like, it does that. He's like, it doesn't. I was like, it does that. Like we were, it was like, you know, and we figured out that it did do it, but not in this one situation. And so
Oh,
he closed the dot for us, and it was about an email sent. And it was like, oh, well, but why would you want that to send? So then we wanted to dive in more. It was a great conversation. Both of us learned something from each side. So it's perfect for us to know, and also for him to kind of be like, oh, so he was creating more work. He didn't need to do something else.
oh,
Like, oh, but then for us, we learned his thought process. So it was a win-win for both. It was a great opportunity to just have a personal experience with the clients, which sometimes when you're a tech company, that gets missed a lot when they're like, oh, you just sell me software. I'm like, no, we actually want to know who you are. We actually want to help and be a positive influence and transform things for you. So that was a nice connection.
absolutely. I mean, that concierge service that you talk about, that is very important because I mean, I only know the law firm side of your client base. Um, but it's such an important part of what you're doing, and it's something that can take up, working with tickets can take up so much time. So, and speaking, as somebody who used to be at a law firm, we need a lot of hand holding. So,
It's but it is. It's interesting of how different industries process different tickets and how they use them, and some need a lot of details before they send someone a ticket, and some are like, who wants them? And they're up for grabs. And so it's very interesting how different industries are using, and then ways that we can support them to speed up their time and process and save them some time is big for
yes.
us.
And probably even I'm sure it also differs even within the same firm or organization, office to office, because you have, yeah,
It can. It's also volume of tickets. There's a lot of elements there, right? Like they only have 4 seats to one team, or do they
Mhm.
have 4 seats to 4 teams? And the volume and things that are going through each office can definitely make a dramatic difference.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, what is something, this I'm always curious about, what is something that you think you would have missed out on if you had not followed this career path?
Yeah, great
You
question.
just can't imagine living without now. You can't imagine not having this aspect of your life.
Yeah, I think there's a couple things there. One of them is I do get to go to everything at my kids' school, right? Like I'm at preschool lunch. Yesterday I was helping in afternoon centers and sewing with pre-K and like all these fun things, and it was so exciting. But I also think some of the relationships I've built with other entrepreneurs through different peer groups, through EO, through another group I do called Practical Founders, and just really the experiences that I've been able to learn about so that I can become a better entrepreneur, a better leader, a better person, have just been instrumental. And some of those aren't available if you're not the founder, the entrepreneur, the
Yeah.
CEO. And so without that, I would have just missed out on this whole kind of stage of life of growth and mindset changes and everything, which I'm super thankful for, and continue to just dive in and see what else is out there.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, when I think about my own journey, one of the things that I realized came up for me is that I got really comfortable in my own skin, really comfortable being myself, which is kind of wacky sometimes, and not always a law firm kind of person. Um, and at first, especially when I first launched my own business, I wasn't comfortable with that. I would make changes, I would kind of, pull myself back. Um, and now, over the course of the last 6 years, at this point, I'm like, this is me. If you don't want to work with me, then that's fine. It means we're not a match. Yeah.
Uh, Yeah, 100%. I was interviewing for this local networking group that someone suggested, and just kind of talking to the person managing it. And he literally said to me, he goes, I don't think you'd add any value to our group. And first off, I was like, uh-huh, right? And then the second part, I was like, okay, see you later. Like,
Yeah.
4 years ago, I would have been like, oh, I would have like stammered over myself to try to be a part of something like that. And then now I'm like, okay, best wishes. And
Yeah.
like back to what we're doing over here and continuing where I am. So it's amazing that power that you kind of take back
Yes.
and from your own life and identity, like personality wise and stuff. It's pretty cool.
Yes, absolutely. I agree completely. Yeah, early in my career when I went on job interviews, I would twist and turn myself into, like just do whatever I needed to do to make myself an attractive employee so I could get the job offer. It was always about that. And now I realize and I tell people who I know who are looking for jobs, that really they are interviewing the organization as much if not more than the organization is interviewing them. This is the like this is your life. Make the right choice with where you're going to be working, and not everybody has that luxury. I recognize that sometimes work is work and you have to do it and you got to get the job.
Yeah.
So and then you
Yeah.
have to find joy in other places.
Yeah, exactly,
I
exactly.
hope.
Right. It could be your lead for the next thing, right? Okay, fine, you have to take this job, but then how does it help you? Where can you grow to get to that next one where you really can be you and be comfortable?
Yes, yes, absolutely. So one of my favorite questions to ask is, if you go, to people, if you could go back to your younger self, um, and tell them something, share something with them, what would that be? So I'm going to put a twist on that for you because believe it or not, it's almost been half an hour already. Um, if somebody listening is standing now where you once stood on the edge of a big leap like the one that you took to start your own company, what would you say to that person?
Yeah, great question. I would say go for it. Do it. Like it's put the work in. There's a lot that it takes to run a business and to grow and to be able to support yourself and everything that you want from it. But do it. Like it's amazing the journey that you can be on and be a part of, and actually just do it and enjoy it. Like I think we oftentimes think of like, oh, if I could just get to this next thing or this next goal, or I'm going to sell my company for, whatever, depending on what you're building. But you miss the ride, you miss the fun days, you miss the time. Like do it, but live it, be part of it, let it be, everything, and just you can do it. You take up on resources around you, find, accelerator groups or peer groups, but do it. Like it
Yeah.
can when you're on this journey.
I love the advice also of not just do it, but pause and pay attention to it. Like observe it and really let it sink in and appreciate it. I think that could be said of any stage in life. Like just take a moment to observe it and appreciate it and be, really live in that moment.
Yeah, we fly through things, and it's really easy as an entrepreneur and starting out to fly through everything, to miss things, to not celebrate things. But when you actually like can pause and take a breath and look around, it's amazing what you're doing. And so then it kind of, at least on my side, it fuels me to want to do more and want to grow more and continue to build more.
Yeah, yeah, that's something that I have not been good at, and I recognized it, the pausing and the celebrating. I would always think of, oh, what, but this is next, and this is next, and this is next. And now I am pausing to have those celebrations, even if it's just with me, you know?
But it's recognizing it. Yes, that's the big win. And we can very easily keep going as entrepreneurs and building businesses and all of that. So it is nice when you're able to celebrate after you've done it and while you're doing it.
Yes, yes. Well, Morgan, thank you so much. I can't believe this is the fastest half hour. I am so glad that we were able to continue our conversation. And I'm going to bug you probably, before the year is out to come back and do another episode because I would love to keep in touch and to know what's going on with this business of yours. And as somebody who made the leap to entrepreneurship later in life, I love that you're doing it so early in your career. And I'm so excited to see where this takes you.
Thank you. This was so fun. I enjoyed our conversation, and just always talking about what we're doing at Ticketnology, but just also the entrepreneur's journey. It's amazing.
Yes, it is. It's very, it's absolutely illuminating. It really is.
It's amazing. Yes.
Yep. Well, everybody, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, please tell other people, and I hope you will come back to see some more. Thanks so much. Bye.